Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bxb'S Bits and Bobs, episode 48. We're really getting up there now. We're really getting up there, and this is the big post E3 blowout, the last of the E3 2018 shows, of which this will be the 6th, I believe, if you include the one before with the predictions before we did nightly with me and Joel, and now this post wrap-up show. Joel is getting a well-deserved break. I don't get breaks. That's not what happens, but if you did listen to the previous shows, you know we were missing the key corner of the Bxb trio. That was Richard, and he's with me today.
Hello. Am I a corner? Because we're a three.
Trio,
we're a triumvirate. So
what would that be? What would you be then? Like tent pole?
Yeah, tent pole.
You like that? You like the tent pole vernacular? Okay, we'll go with that. The key tent pole, Richard. He holds up our summer release schedule like no one else.
Like Samson. Like that.
Oh, like Samson, like with the world.
Yeah.
Right, that was some mythological referencing there. I was a bit too early for that, Richard. To keep it simple for me, mate. I mean, I've just got up, so it's like, man, calm down. So, like I was saying, this show is going to be a lot about E3. We're going to go through our predictions. We're going to go through me and Richard's sort of best moments, top picks from the show. Me and Richard will have a little catch up about the show in general. But before we get to all that, let's go to what was our, conventional and chit-chatty talking about the last couple of weeks, what we've been watching and all that sort of shit. So, Richard, you mentioned that you saw Black Panther. Now that you'd seen it already in the cinema, I take it.
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
No,
so I'll ask you about that, and I'll also ask you about how is watching, when you say UHD on the Microsoft Store, I take it that means you watched the 4K version of the film streaming off of Xbox. And how was that? I've never tried that.
It was good. You won't have tried it because only Black Panther is available at the moment.
Oh,
Literally
right.
Nothing else. So this has been something I've been waiting for quite some time, because in the US store they've had UHD movies or 4K movies for, I don't know, a year. And I have asked Microsoft on Twitter and whatever, what about us guys in the UK? And they don't know. Of course, they don't know anything ever. So it was nice to see this finally appear. Hopefully there'll be more. So I bought this. $17.99 for anyone that's interested in knowing how much 4K movies go for on streaming services. Is that representative? I don't know. Have you seen them else?
But that was to own it. Yeah,
that's to own it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no, I don't, because I've watched some 4K stuff on Sky. And the ones that aren't like part of the Sky Cinema package, like if you want to buy, like watch a new one, you can only rent them, and they're like £5.50 to rent, but you can't buy them on the Sky Store yet. I'm sure it's coming, but no, I mostly just buy the 4K Blu-rays. I've got a decent collection now, but
I don't have any apart from I bought Sarah some of the Blue Planet Blu-rays, 4K Blu-rays, but apart from that, I've held off buying any, hoping that this will happen. So that's not too bad actually, because I think on disc it's like 27 in HMV, so
like 25 quid or something for it. Yeah, to be honest, and the Marvel films, the Disney ones in particular, I find are the worst value. They're always max price, 25, 26, 27 quid. They don't come with a digital version on like an ultraviolet. They do come with the DVD, but they don't. Sorry, with the Blu-ray, not a DVD. But they don't come with the digital code, which I find is a really kind of everybody else does that except them, it would seem, which is kind of shitty. So tell me, was it at 4K? Was it HDR?
Yes.
Cool.
I don't know how you judge this stuff. I don't know whether my eyes are getting worse or whether the service just isn't quite up to standard, but I did find it hard to tell the difference, really. I mean, it looks really good, but
I've watched it on the 4K Blu-ray disc, right? Yeah. So as good as it can be, right? On my my very nice TV, my new TV, and I don't think it's the most standout 4K HDR transfer. No, I there was a couple of moments where I thought things like the sunset at the end and stuff like that, I thought it was noticeable. But for the most part, because I think that film relies so much on CGI in its action scenes, I don't think it necessarily comes across that well. However, I did just watch the new 4K HDR transfer of The Matrix.
All right.
And that was stunning because it was So because it's all the effects are in camera, so practical for the most part. There is some CGI, but most of the bullet time is all practical and all that.
Yeah, so it's got more texture.
The clarity to it, and the way, obviously the image is very color corrected when they're in the Matrix, you know, to stand out from when they're out of the Matrix. It really popped for me. It looked amazing, I thought. But now basically for me, new releases, big blockbuster releases, I'm buying 4K. Things that affects movies, which should show it off. Or I read a lot of reviews. It's like when they say it's worth checking out if it's particularly additive to the experience, the re-release. I'll check it out, because a lot of the back catalog re-releases are about 20 quid. Which, if it's a film I love, like The Matrix, which I've owned on every format since its release, I know I'm gonna get it again. I'll always buy that. You know, when they release that in fucking 3D VR HD 4K, you know, in a few years time, I want to be in the Matrix, motherfucker. You know, literally, let me do that. So no, So what did you think of the movie? And had you seen Infinity War then, without having seen Black Panther?
Yep.
That's weird. Okay, considering how
important, that much difference, does it?
Well, Wakanda's I would have said so. Don't you think it did retroactively? I mean, a lot of Infinity War is set in Wakanda. A lot of it has quite a big.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I missed too much, because Wakanda's in Civil War as well. I felt like Black Panther kind of just deals with the backstory stuff. So yeah, I didn't feel like I missed out too much.
Cool movie though, isn't it? I really like the villain in Black Panther. Killmonger's really good.
Yeah, I did like him. The true sign of a good villain is when you're not quite sure. So there's a bit halfway through. Sarah said, "Is he a good guy or a bad guy?"
Oh, exactly. Yeah, definitely ambiguous.
Yeah,
I would lean towards quite the good guy. And in the end, his actions are what pushes the hero, Black Panther, T'Challa, into being much more open and international with Wakanda. Yes. If you think about it, he has a huge influence on him, because he acknowledges that he was right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's always great when a bad guy has a motivation for being bad. And Black Panther understands this guy was wronged in a big way. And,
it was all their fault, his father's fault, you know, and sins of the father and all that coming back to haunt the children, as is often the case. For me, I really love the characters and the wider story. I think the film's let down a little bit by the action scenes feeling very small. In general, like even the big fight at the end feels like it's 20 people fighting each other.
Yeah, there is that. I wasn't that impressed with Martin Freeman either. I normally like Martin Freeman, but he wasn't great in this. Martin,
took me a minute to realize who the hell you were talking about. I don't like him. I've never liked him due to the fact that he's a bit of a shit in real life, and I always find it difficult to divorce performances from the actor in reality. And he's a real scumbag, and he doesn't get on with really anybody, and he's really horrible to his fans. He's not a good guy. But yeah, he's very much phoning it in, isn't he? Like just doing the straight CIA, bad accent as well, like weird non-specific, non-regional US accent, which is really strange sounding when he's delivering it. Whereas, and then the amazing is it J. August Richards? Is that Killmonger? I can't remember the actor's name.
I don't know.
He obviously Creed, you know, same actor as Creed. Have you seen Creed, Richard?
Oh yeah. Michael B. Jordan.
Is it Michael B. Jordan?
Yeah.
Maybe it's Michael B. Jordan then. Yeah, I know it was something like 3 triple build kind of name. Michael B. Jordan makes more sense actually. And he was fabulous. He just eating up the scene. Every scene he was in just came with so much authenticity and so much believability. And to be honest, he sort of outshone the guy playing T'Challa and everything, which is Chadwick Boseman and stuff. And he was fabulous. Like absolutely. It's such a shame he has such a finite end. I'd be really hoping to see him again. But there's no coming back from where they end. That
wasn't let down. I saw that going somewhere else, but never mind.
But at the end, when he says the whole line about, you know, like my brothers on the slave ships who got killed into
the sea, I
was like, fuck, mate, legit, okay. You've convinced me that death here is the right choice. Well done.
That's quite a heavy movie. It takes its sort of ethnic backstory and supporting cast quite seriously, doesn't it? It's not just for show.
It does. It's an impressive balancing act, because I don't think it hits you over the head with the persecution of minority races too much. There's a bit in the opening where it's doing that kind of animated sand stuff where it shows the slave ships.
Yeah.
But they don't really talk about slavery or oppression very directly for most of it, but they get away with not needing to.
That's right. It doesn't feel as if it's sort of a finger wagging at white people. It's just, you know,
this is your history. You know your history. We don't need to fucking tell you it again. You know what's happened. It's impossible not to know. And you know it has had consequences, you know. So no, it's cool. It's a cool movie. I look forward to the sequel. However, less impressive on your little show notes here. The Commuter. Why did you watch The Commuter? Like, were you held at gunpoint yourself?
I bought it. Sarah wanted me to buy it, so that's another thing I got on the Microsoft Store. She enjoys that stuff, and I do too. I like Liam Neeson.
Yeah, but it's kind of thing I'd watch when it's on TV. Yeah. Jesus, not a great. Anything more you wanted to add?
I can tell you about it. If you've seen any of Liam Neeson's action movies, you know exactly what you're getting.
It's one of those.
It's got Vera Farmiga in it from out of Bates Motel.
Yeah, she's good.
She's good, but she's not in it very much. So it's pretty much what you would expect from a guy who has been wronged and has some skills that he can deploy to make things right. You know, the usual. It's fine.
Cool.
That's all I have to say about The Commuter.
Cool. I just watched Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, as a cinema experience, I very rarely now go to the cinema more than like a week or so after release because I'm always there at the opening weekend, you know, that sort of thing, and it's always rammed. However, going to see this at 12 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, when there was literally 4 other people in the cinema, was very pleasant. I'd forgotten how nice it was to sit in an empty cinema and watch a film. It fucking lovely. And it was a much better movie than it deserved to be. Like, I didn't think it was going to be that great. I'll be honest with you. I liked Jurassic World. However, there's you know, it's not amazing. This I thought though took the formula in an interesting direction, and it's very much more of a horror movie than an action movie, and it actually reminded me a lot of Alien at times. And there's some really good scares in there.
That was the same in the last one. There was a load of stuff in Jurassic World that was just totally ripped from Aliens. Like three or four points in the movie.
Remind me.
They've taken that shot for shot almost.
Oh, you're talking about the end bit with the T-Rex, when she stood there with the flare. Yeah, no, you know. Well, look
with the head cams, and they're all like going out in sequence. There's loads of stuff.
This is weird though. This is less Aliens and more Alien.
All right.
But it's a different director. Trevorrow is executive producer on this and producer, but he wasn't the director. So it is different, and it's actually, I believe it's a guy who's got horror pedigree. And was clearly hired because of the second and the third act intentions of this movie. The first act is very much this roller coaster. You've seen it in the trailer with the dinosaurs on the island as it's exploding. Yeah. And that's, you know, you've pretty much seen all of that in the trailer. However, I thought the pacing was better. The characterization for Pratt, Chris Pratt, and the girl who's, I can't remember her name.
I've forgotten her name as well. It's bad.
Is it Jessica Chastain or something like that? The actress?
No, it's someone else.
No, I don't remember her name at all. Bryce Dallas Howard? Maybe?
That's it. Yeah, I think that's it.
All right, okay. And
something
yeah,
like
what they've done and what they actually tackle, I thought, which was interesting in this, is that you guys, you two people are actually very much responsible for the bad shit happening here in the second film. So first of all, Bryce Dallas Howard was the person who was, you know, the administrator of Jurassic World. Right. Yep. And she was behind a lot of the genetic experimentation that was happening there, and unauthorized it. And then Chris Pratt is the one that trained and created like trainable behavioral instincts within the velociraptors. So this kind of these good intentioned mistakes have come back to haunt them in a big way in the second movie, without spoiling it. And I actually thought that was kind of cool, and actually quite smart. It does borrow a lot of the beats from Lost World. You can't deny that they've sort of looked at that sequel and gone, how do we do that better? And it is better, and then it leaves things in a really interesting place for a third film. So I'm definitely intrigued to see how they finish off this trilogy. And we'll talk about it later. But this, off the back of me enjoying that, I went and bought Jurassic World Evolutions, Jurassic World Evolutions, which is the game that's just come out from Frontier. But we'll talk about that when we talk about the games. But yeah, I enjoyed Fallen Kingdom a lot more than I thought I would. I tell you what, Richard, I came away from that going, that was a much better movie than Solo. So really? I had a lot more fun watching this than Solo. Have you seen Solo yet?
No.
I won't go into it, but I definitely, as a roller coaster, as a thriller, as an action movie, I came away a lot more hyped and excited and talking about it with the people I went to see it with than I did in Solo, where everybody just sort of went, it was all right. It was all right. There was much more to talk about with the end of Jurassic World here, so take it as you will. Very different films.
That doesn't put Solo in a great light, does it? Really?
I don't rate it.
You mentioned this adhering to the formula. I've heard similar that it is quite a formulaic film, Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. But if it does it well,
yeah, I mean, they've had a formula since the original Jurassic Park. There is a way they make these movies. But much like there is a way they make Mission Impossible movies, which I'm super excited for Fallout, which is coming out soon, or any movies, really. Anything that's a franchise usually has some kind of formula, doesn't it? A structure that they stick to. The Marvel movies do it, they might change things.
I mean, to different degrees. I mean, what a successful formula shouldn't be transparently formulaic, though, should it? It should.
I suppose.
And twists.
I suppose, but you get that in all entertainment franchises, video games, books, films, all of them. It's all they all play with the structure they establish. So anyway, and the other little thing I wanted to give a shout out to, because it's very cinematic as well, is I've been watching Bulletproof on Sky One. Have you heard of Bulletproof, Rich?
Oh, this is the thing with a guy,
Noel Clarke.
Noel Clarke, yeah. I haven't seen any of it.
Noel Clarke, who was behind writing it and producing it and getting it made, as well as being one of the main characters in it. And it's basically there's a few sort of elevator pitches ways you could describe it. It feels a bit like British Bad Boys. Got a bit of a UK Bad Boys vibe to it. The Will Smith, Martin Lawrence films, which is now getting very, very old. If you think about it, they're still, I think, trying to make a third movie, but whether or not that ever happens, who knows? Yeah. It also reminds me a bit of the Sweeney. The original kind of like cops kicking down doors, not really needing warrants or following any kind of process, but just doing what needs to be done.
Like sort of tongue in cheek, because Bad Boys is a silly.
It's the characters. The characters have a great relationship. The two main characters have a fantastic, realistic brotherhood between them, right? However, the stuff that's going on is actually very serious. They're dealing with crime, real crime that would be with real consequences, and people die. They have a lot more shootouts than I think British police generally do. But that there is definitely it has a really nice balance of human drama, action set pieces, and comedy. And it all works very well together at this point. And I've been really hooked in. I haven't watched this week's episode yet. I haven't had a chance because of E3 and stuff. But I'm going to watch it. But I'm really enjoying it. It's very, very well made. And each episode feels like there's budget to it. Feels very cinematic. It's shot very much like a film. I'm really impressed with the production standards and the quality of the writing and stuff here. And Noel Clarke's always been a fantastic actor, a great creator, behind a lot of films, behind a lot of projects. And it's cool to see him having fun here. He actually plays more of the straight character, I guess, in many ways on the show. But him and the other actors' main kind of like interactions are brilliant, and they do a really good job making you care about the stakes, which are just growing and growing as it goes along. They've got some episodic sort of storylines, but they also have like a serialized arc thing going on as well. It's definitely worth checking out, Rich, man. Yeah, I'd say it. You have Sky, don't you? I can't remember. I know Joel doesn't.
I'm on Virgin.
You're Virgin.
Yeah, which Sky channel is it on?
Sky One.
Oh, I've got that.
Cool. Yeah, if you can watch it, like it's one of the shows they have in 4K, but it's in regular 1080p as well. So yeah, definitely worth checking out. I think that's a shorter
streaming section.
But we need to know how Frank is, Rich.
Yeah, speaking of streaming.
Oh, lovely. Unofficial Bxb'S Games mascot Frank. He's unwell once again.
Yeah, he's been to the vets again on Friday. to have his ass tended to because he had a weird growth. So that's been sliced off. He now has stitches in his butthole, and he has to wear a weird collar thing so he doesn't eat out his stitches. So he's not having a good time, poor little Frank. But I think he's on the mend. He's sat with me now eating a biscuit.
Oh.
So yeah, poor little fella.
Poor guy. I mean, yeah. I've got 2 cats, and one of them is always down the vets with stupid shit. Like he'll have got his head like. I mean, what did he have the other day? He had like a hole in his head, right on his forehead, right, where he'd had a fight with a fucking squirrel.
How does that happen?
Squirrels are vicious, it turns out, the vet was saying, and it's like the squirrel must have just gone for his head, in defense, because he's probably hunting the little fucker, and has left a big, like, deep cut in his head. So he had to have it all shaved. He had a bald patch in the middle of his forehead, looked like a right twat. But it's all healed up, and then it's things like a couple of years ago, he would repeatedly get, how cats chew grass to like create hairballs and stuff like that. It's part of what they do. But he'd get like grass. Long bits of grass stuck under his palate because I don't know, he didn't know how to do it, and that happened like 3 times. So due to him, our pet insurance goes up like every other month. We have to pay a higher amount because of the amount of times he's had to go to the fucking vet over. Really, I mean, at one point he got hit by a car, we think, right? But luckily it only broke one of his legs. Yeah. But like he was in a cast, and it was like, oh my god, that was a couple of years ago. But we love,
funny though, right? That's worth paying for.
It looked pretty funny. You look like a right plonker, and he's got like a gammy foot now from it, where his claws are all out of like mangled a bit and out of line and stuff. But it doesn't affect him. But yeah, he's adorable, and we love him to bits. But yeah, he's just constantly getting in trouble, and it's a constant expense. But
vet bills are bullshit.
Yeah, but what can you do? You're going to pay. You love them, don't you? You love them to bits. So it's like...
To a degree, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. You clearly love Frank.
I really love Frank, but obviously there is a limit to how much I would pay.
No, there isn't. There's no time that you're going to go to the vets and they go, we can fix it. It's going to cost you X. And you're going to go, no, put him down. That's just not what you're ever going to do, Richard. I know that for a fact. And I know because I know I wouldn't. And you just pay.
I don't know.
Love them.
There is a line.
No, there isn't. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. You're not a hard man. You're not a hard man, Richard. You're a heart of gold. Well, Bxb only has softies. That's the thing. We don't like hard, scary men like that. We only like.
Look, I'm not looking for an excuse to kill my dog.
What's the cutoff point? 3 grand, 4 grand, 10 grand. What is it, Richard? What's the line? You psycho. No. Should we talk about some gaming stuff? Should we get onto E3 now? How do you want to do this? Do you want to go through our predictions first, or do you want to talk about your picks and what you enjoyed and general impressions? How do you want to do this? I'll let you pick because I've done what feels like 40,000 hours of E3 podcast at this point. So
let's do predictions first, and then we can get into the meat.
All right, we'll do this in like a round robin format in the way we did the predictions. If you haven't listened to the prediction show, it was the last proper Bits and Bobs episode from a couple of weeks ago, worth checking out. I've linked to it in the show notes as well if you can't somehow use the website. But we'll do round robin. Do you want to start off? We'll work out a scoring system. Like if you 100% nail it, you get a point. If you get say most of it right or half of it right, we'll do a half point. But that's going to be judge's decision, which will be between me and you right now, and then we'll tally up the scores and see how we all do at the end. I will be mentioning Joel's predictions as well, who's not with us today, so that he gets a fair shake. Richard, go first. Give us one of your predictions.
Okay, my first one was the new Elite controller for Xbox. So that is a big no. Surprised at that.
Yeah, I was. Well, I was and I wasn't. I mean, when you look back at their show, it was just games. It was just games for the most part. Like, there was a couple of moments of talking about the future and their studio acquisitions and stuff like that. But it was a billion games.
They did say that they've got engineers working on the next Xbox, but that was as far as the hardware announcements went.
Next gen confirmed, baby. Okay, no, so that's a 0 from you. This isn't in the order of we predictions we did, but I'll mention my crazy one that I put in at the end of the show. Mortal Kombat open world game using the Shadow of War engine. Did not happen. Didn't think it would, but I hoped. You know, it would have been a cool idea. So that's a from me on that one. Joel, he put new Assassin's Creed game, but I think didn't we sort of say he couldn't have that because we already knew it was happening. Yeah. So I'm sorry, Joel, you can't. You're not here to fight that corner, but we are not giving you a point for that. I told you on the predictions episode it wasn't allowed because it had already been leaked.
Well, so even if we didn't know, we knew.
Well, yes.
It's Assassin's Creed. You can't have that.
So, right, your one. Next one.
Halo. I'm expecting half a point for this.
Go on, what did you put exactly? Can you remind me exactly what you argued? I can't remember.
I said we'd see Master Chief Collection update for the X, which I don't think
we didn't see it. We didn't see it, but it's coming.
It's happening,
coming.
Isn't it?
Yeah. But that wasn't a rumor. We knew that. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I knew it was happening, but I thought they'd sort of release it during E3.
Nice.
But
they confirmed it's coming to Game Pass, didn't they? But they didn't show any updates.
That's right. But I did say that there'd be a teaser for a new Halo reboot. And I'm stretching the definition of reboot, but there was a new Halo game that goes back to the roots of the franchise, and it wasn't a numbered Halo.
So it would be. As the show's gone on, more details have come out about Infinite.
Yeah.
And that is the Chief at the end.
Yes, it is.
Right. I wasn't sure if it was the Chief or it was just going to be a Spartan. That is the Chief. What Halo Infinite is, we still don't know. It was more of an unveiling of their new engine tech that they're using to make it. Now, if Halo Infinite is instead of Halo 6, I'd be very surprised. I do get the feeling that it's a shared world shooter, which is what I called it when me and Joel were talking about it in the post Microsoft conference. Think an MMO Destiny Bungie type thing. Yeah. I would be surprised if it was a reboot, but I would give you, I'd give you half a point for that if you're happy. Because I think that you kind of, you know, there was something Halo that wasn't.
When I said reboot, I didn't mean, I probably should have been more clear, but I didn't mean, right, this is Halo starting from scratch. It's just something that goes back to the original style of Halo, which this absolutely is because it's on a Halo. And
the Chief's armor is old school. If you look at the helmet, it's an old school armor. Yeah, so it's without all the updates that we got in 4 and 5 for the look. What all that means, who knows? Who knows? Maybe it is a reboot. Maybe that is what that's going to be. Post 6, they restart the franchise, but I don't know how they'd make that work without pissing off everyone. I really don't. But you know, interesting though. So Joel up next. Yes, that's right, isn't it? Metroid Prime 4 will not release this year. The focus this year will be on Smash Brothers. I'm not sure.
Get that right.
I'm not sure if I can give him that because
come on, they did about half an hour out of a 50-minute show on Smash Brothers.
But isn't it all really obvious? I mean, that's I mean, all right, we'll give it to him. I mean, that is correct, isn't it? I suppose, yeah. So we'll get a solid point on that. But even if it was a really safe as houses prediction,
it was safe, but yeah.
Gears of War Bonanza, Battle Royale. This is me. Battle Royale, RTS, and new third-person shooter. I think I'm going to take a whole point for that. I might not have gotten the Battle Royale, but I predicted that there'd be 3 Gears of War games shown. Yeah, and I got the RTS, the third-person shooter, you know, the next iteration. You know, I didn't get the Battle Royale. Who the fuck could have predicted Funko Pop Gears of War? I mean, that was the weirdest shit.
Can you imagine if they'd stopped there? That was the biggest letdown. But nice.
That was fun when I was watching that live, and it was like the ultimate troll. It was like Gears of War, pop, and everybody was like, "What?" I thought that there was going to be a stage invasion. I actually thought the crowd was going to riot at that point. It was super funny.
It would be churlish not to give you that full point. You did well on that one.
You're next. I'll take a point. Yes.
Next was From Software's next game announcement, which I thought was going to be Bloodborne 2. Turns out that's wrong. It's a new franchise called Sekiro. So I was incorrect.
We also got at Microsoft, what was it called? I can't remember. We got the full unveil of what they teased last year as well, didn't we? Do you remember the one with
that is what they teased? The Shadows Die Twice thing from last year was Sekiro.
That was Sekiro. Yeah. So that was what we're talking about. Because wasn't there other From Software games, or am I imagining there was another From Software game at PlayStation?
I don't know. I didn't see the entire PlayStation show. I just watched much. I watched all the trailers after because I'd heard it wasn't great, so I didn't put myself through the full thing.
No, that's fair enough. So, what do you want? Do you want a half point for that, Rich? I think we can give you a half point for that.
Really?
Well, you predicted a From Software game reveal.
Okay, I'll take the half. I mean, that feels a little bit cheaty, but if you want to give it to me.
Call of Duty Black Ops 4, this is Joel, will fail to impress, signaling the downfall of the series. I love how dramatic that is.
What lack of that, because he's going to come back next week and say, "Yeah, I wasn't impressed."
The lack of single player and the success of PUBG and Fortnite. It didn't really show anywhere. They didn't
really do it, did they?
They didn't do any of it. It wasn't on any stage. Did I miss it? Was it on anything?
I don't think they've got that much to show yet.
I think what it was they did the announcement before the show, didn't they? Yeah, a little while before E3, and they're going to do another thing later on in a month or so's time. So they just skipped E3. So I'm sorry, Joel, you can't have any of that because it can't fail to impress if it's not there. So I put here no Halo from Xbox yet. Now, I would argue I would argue for half a point for this because there was no Halo 6.
Bullshit.
Which is what I was getting at.
Bullshit.
All right. Well, I'm not going to lose a point. We're not doing that, but I won't get a point. Then fine.
We don't even know if this Halo Infinite, it might technically be 6.
I don't think it is.
I don't think it is either.
It can't be because it just can't be because there's no hints in that trailer of the Cortana stuff and the rampancy stuff or any of that. So no, there's no way it can be. I'll quickly throw out a next one because I think I had a few more than you guys. The next PlayStation, Beyond Good and Evil 2, is the first confirmed game. We did get a great showing of Beyond Good and Evil 2, I thought, but nothing to do with the next PlayStation hardware or anything. No. We got more about Xbox hardware, in at least acknowledgement that there is one in development. So no, nothing for that for me at all. So, Rich?
Project 7 from Remedy is, surprise, surprise, not Alan Wake 2. So no points for me. But
however, we will be talking about that shortly, won't we? Yeah. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on all that because I certainly when I saw that footage, I had some immediate reactions. So I'll be very curious to get your thoughts on that shortly. But it wasn't Alan Wake 2, which is, like you, what I really would have loved to have seen. Yes. Oh my God, that would have been.
I'm just glad that it is a third-person, story-driven adventure. So yeah, it's pretty much like Alan Wake and Quantum Break, but something new. So great, looking forward to that.
Yes, we'll discuss it shortly. Joel here. EA will announce / show a single-player Star Wars game, an attempt to win back some of the fans. Review their talking about their exclusive license. Teaser is something releasing next year, as this year it will be about Anthem. Okay, I think we're going to have to give Joel half a point for this one. They didn't show it. They barely announced it. Did you watch the EA conference?
Yeah. I don't know if he gets a point for this, because this was no point.
Well, really? Yeah, but this is the first time. This is the first time Vince Zampella from the Titan Souls developers Respawn is sat in the audience in this bit, and he tells us what it's going to be called. What was it? The Last Jedi? No, something like that. What was it called? No, not The Last Jedi.
No, I can't remember.
Fallen Jedi, something like that, wasn't it? It was something about. Like I'd have to look back. Jedi Fallen Order, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, something like that. Oh, yeah. Something to that effect. Pretty generic. Confirmed the time period. This is set between 3 and 4. Confirm that it's going to be dark, but you're going to get to play with lightsabers and things like that. They didn't show any footage. They didn't give any indication of when it's coming out. I don't think it will be next year, to be honest. I think he actually said, we're aiming for the end of next year, but I suspect it won't hit that. So I want to give Joel half a point though, because
we knew they were working on a Star Wars game already. We knew.
Yeah, but his prediction was that it was going to be at the EA conference, the single player game. So you know, he got that right. He played it safe, but he got it right.
Did he?
So no, I think
it wasn't there. It was an acknowledgement of why it's not there.
I'm going to give him half a point, Richard. You're a hard man.
Okay.
So you are a hard man, actually. It turns out you're a bit mean.
Yeah. Give me no points and kill my dog, please.
Wow, that's really fucked up. I one of my wilder predictions was VR AR offering from Xbox. Nope, nothing. Not even a whiff. Not even a hint. I also said the next Souls game will be on the PlayStation stage, kind of along the lines of what you said, but you were more thinking Bloodborne from. But there wasn't. No. We got a game, Ghost of Tsushima, that looks a lot like a bit of a Souls game vibe.
It does look a lot like that, yeah.
But that's the I want to say, who's making that? That's Insomniac, or is that Sucker Punch? Sorry, Sucker Punch. Insomniac is making Spider-Man. This is Sucker Punch. And actually, it's got maybe a bit more of a Witcher vibe to it, with the sort of the Japanese Witcher look to it, I thought. But you know, the big open world and some good looking combat, but a little bit of a Souls vibe. But I think it'd probably be easier in combat than that.
I'm guessing that's why Sekiro was on the Xbox stage.
Most certainly, because it would have been too much of a direct competition and theme, I would have thought. So nothing for me. Go on. What's yours?
My last one was new Zelda on Switch, multiplayer Zelda.
Dude, all we got from fucking Nintendo was that incredibly boring Smash Brothers half an hour of here's every character, here's their moves for every character,
here's
and
the
none of it looks
scheme.
new. Oh my god!
Here's how icons change for each character.
That was the worst. The worst Nintendo Direct. That was so boring. Joel's last one. Joel's last one was the hilarious one, if you remember, Richard. Miyamoto and Phil Spencer dance on stage announcing Mario and Master Chief Minecraft Adventures for the Switch. Sadly not. I would have loved to have seen it, Joel. You pie in the sky that one hard, but not quite. I've got 3 more, Richard, and I think I'm going to win. Looking at these 3, I'm sad to say, Rich, I'm going to win.
It's not a fair contest, is it? If you've got way more predictions than me.
You should have made more predictions, Richard. I mean, what do you want from me? What do you want from me?
What competition is this?
So the one I definitely got wrong was Burnout is back. I was really hoping for Burnout at EA, but nope, did not get that. However, the big reveal for Cyberpunk 2077 on the Xbox stage, I nailed the shit out of that one.
You
did. 100% back of the net. So I'm definitely taking that point. And boy, what a trailer it was. And the information that has come out afterwards from the 45-minute gameplay demo that press have had makes me super excited to play that game. Have you been reading or seen any of this from the 45-minute demo, Rich?
No, I haven't. I obviously saw it on the show, but not anything else. It's
first person, not third person.
Weird.
Yep. So they're you know, I respect that. You know, CD Projekt have done 3 third-person action games. I can understand why they'd want to try something new. It has a Syndicate / Deus Ex vibe to it. So there's things like hacking doors, taking over systems.
Yeah, I was just going to say Deus Ex. The first person puts it in that territory.
The way the press have described it is that while it doesn't seem to be showing anything particularly new, the package bringing everything together feels incredibly well honed. They're saying things like it's the most finished looking demo that they'd seen at an E3, considering how far it might be out. Everything looked real, everything looked like it was a shippable game. So it seemed like there's a credible depth to the city. You drive around in the city, you have a car, like a futuristic car, so there's gunplay with look, one of the stats, you know how you have like strength, intelligence, dexterity and stuff like that when you're leveling up. One of them is just cool. It's just put points in cool. It's a corporate controlled world, all this stuff as you'd expect from a cyberpunk setting. It just sounds like a game I'm going to lose hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours in, Rich. I really can't wait. It sounds amazing. So I definitely got a point for that. Then the other one, if you don't want this to be unfair, I won't put it as a prediction because I actually threw it in at the very end of the show because I didn't think it was going to happen. Because I so thought it wouldn't happen, so I didn't bring it up in the prediction segment we did. However, I did sort of throw out there Doom 2 Hell on Earth as a hope rather than any kind of realism. And then, my God, Bethesda fucking showed Doom Eternal, and I lost my mind. I lost my mind, Richard. I got so excited. It just, mate, I can't wait. And then they didn't say much about it. They're going to show a lot more at QuakeCon, and for the first time ever, they're actually going to be doing streaming it from QuakeCon. QuakeCon is usually just a locked down private thing that they don't normally like. They've never before shown footage from QuakeCon to people outside of it. But you know, they just do it for the fans there. But they're actually going to do a big reveal of Doom from QuakeCon, and that's in August. And I can't wait. I'm talking about twice as many enemies. They've made you feel even more super powerful, more guns. It looks like it is hell on earth based on that teaser trailer. It's going to be fantastic. I can't wait.
I'm going to have to finish the first game. I can't believe I've not done that.
Yes. Yes. No other words. Just do it. Just do it. So I won't take a point for that because, frankly, I don't need to.
I think you've won anyway.
I still won anyway.
A total of 1 point.
Do you have a point? I have 2 points, and Joel has 1.5 points, though you argue just 1. So you could say you tied with Joel if it makes you feel better, but I'm the winner.
Well done. Congratulations. That means you win.
I get to keep my copy of Agony.
Agony.
I should have lost. Oh, God, I should have thrown that. What have I done? Oh, no. I didn't think that through. I didn't think that through, did I? Oh, no. The desire to win overcame everything. Oh, no. Oh, God. So we touched on a few bits there. What else stood out to you? What were some of your big shout out moments from the show, Rich? Like what, before we get into the minutiae, what was your favorite conference / play / direct that,
overall
stood out to you? Yes,
Xbox.
Overall. Yeah,
Xbox.
I thought it might be.
Yeah, I know I'm, fanboying for Xbox most of the time, but it was the best show, wasn't it?
It was. I think objectively the best one. Yeah, I mean, I think Bethesda's second for me. Quite close. A lot, obviously showed a lot less. But I really liked some of those big announcements at the end, and I thought their whole style of presentation was really cool, and I really enjoyed it, like to watch. So I think they come in close there. But no, Xbox, just announcement after announcement after announcement. It was crazy, unbelievable.
Yeah, and you talk about shout out moments. There were moments where I literally did shout out. That Ninja Theory acquisition, I was out of my chair screaming at that one in front of the wife, and she was like, really?
So me and Joel talked about that quite a lot. How surprising it was for them to almost get that out from under PlayStation. Because famously Ninja Theory have done a lot of PlayStation exclusives. Until recently, Hellblade was basically just PlayStation. Obviously, this has come off the fact that it's coming out on Xbox has probably now got a lot to do with what's going on behind the scenes here. But yeah, I would always consider them a second party PlayStation developer. So for Microsoft to buy them, that's massive. That's crazy big.
Yeah. Well, I think they started out not really being under any particular banner at all, did they? No, their first game, they were on Xbox to begin with their first game, but I can't remember what it was now. But yeah, they had Heavenly Sword, which was PlayStation 3 exclusive. That was a big launch exclusive. Hellblade, I think it was PlayStation 4 exclusive more because of the financing and because they're an independent studio and couldn't afford to do 2 formats at once. It was more that than having any sort of deal. But yeah, it does feel like a surprising turn and a good one if they put the money in and support them to do what they need to do. That's the idea, isn't it? So rather than Ninja Theory be hobbled by an uncertain future into what they can allow themselves to make, they can go full force forward into something really big and truly AAA without worrying about it.
Something interesting I read about Ninja Theory was that with a studio of over 100 people, they had about 20 people working on Hellblade, and everybody else was contract work to fund it. So when you take away that need, what do we get? What can we get? That's super exciting to see what they can make with all their studio power behind projects for Xbox.
Even without further building that studio, that's a 5-fold increase in their resource to build the next game. So that's exciting.
Yeah, there was lots of. I mean, the studio acquisitions was a really crazy part of that show. Like in general, like wow, there's some investment here. But I mean, what I talked about with Joel was that this is investment for the next generation.
Yeah,
you're just sadly not going to see realistically. I don't think it's possible you'll see anything from any of these studios on this generation. So don't expect anything for 3 or 4 years. Sorry, Xbox fanboys, but that's how this shit works. It's Phil, and then if you take that into account with what he said towards the end of the show about, talking about the next generation of hardware, I don't want to say it's an admission. It's not an admission of defeat, because that's not really how they see this. I mean, the Xbox One has still been super successful. However, they are starting to pivot towards what comes next now.
I didn't get that vibe. I felt like that was just a commitment to console gaming, because there is talk around this being the last generation of consoles. Yeah. I think they said that the last one as well, actually. But it's just an acknowledgement. No, they are committed to this in the long term, both in terms of game development. They've bought all these studios. They've set up their own new ones. They've got a load of exclusive stuff coming. They also are committed to the hardware side, and they're actively developing the next console now. So they're in this for the long haul.
Yeah,
I didn't see it as Xbox One has failed. We are now going to work on the next thing.
But you couldn't. I mean, it's inevitable that the internal thinking must be moving towards that. I mean, it must be. They must be looking to the future, because they always have to be. This is a technology company after all. So these
even if PlayStation wasn't in the lead, they would still be working on the next console now. It's just
of course they would. I don't think they'd be as bullish about outwardly, openly confirming investment as they were at this conference, and acknowledging existence of it, being the first company to acknowledge existence of the next generation. I don't think they'd be doing that if they were winning, as it were. But it isn't about. It's such a difficult thing, right? Because it's a real holdover from fucking 20, 30 years ago. The idea that these companies are competing for first place. That isn't what they're doing. It doesn't matter. No. It doesn't matter at all, because they've still sold tens of millions. They still have a very strong install base. They're still doing very good with sales and Game Pass and all these other interesting initiatives. They're making a lot of money. They're not like losing out here. So I think thinking of it as winning and losing is ridiculous. We all win in the end. Every gamer wins because of the innovations that come from this competition. So it's great. It's great. Bring it on. Bring it on. I'm super excited to see what comes out of these studios, man. I can't wait. So what else have you got on your little picks list?
Division 2. I didn't think I'd care. I really didn't think I'd be that bothered, because the first Division game, it was okay. I came into it really, really late, and I've not really done any of the multiplayer stuff. I've basically soloed the whole thing, but I enjoyed the Division. Division 2, I was kind of, I suppose it'll be okay. But seeing the new Washington, D.C. setting, and how much they've built on the first game, it's got raids now. It just makes me really excited for it.
Got raids now that we'll never play.
No, but...
let's be honest. 8 players. When are we going to do that?
I suppose. It does look great, though.
I really like. I love the Division. The first Division's a great game. I put loads of hours and time into that. I've done all the DLC and all of that stuff. I think the idea of it, I love the quasi-military, realistically set, photorealistic, beautiful world that they made in New York. Absolutely stunning. And the idea, let's take it to the nation's capital. Let's lean on this idea that there's a new American Civil War. It's a great idea of speculative fiction, near future sci-fi sort of concept. Really, really engaging. It was interesting to see how little things like the UI has changed. That they've got to this point with the original Division now, where they've done so many updates and patches that you can tell this was live development for prototyping the sequel. Yeah. So it's like, oh, well, this now all works really well. Let's just move that into a new setting.
Yeah,
sure. And I think what they'll do,
pretty much said that, right? They said that they'd done so much work on the original Division that set them up for the sequel to be a really long-term big deal now. So they're going to be supporting this for years, and the first year content is all going to be free.
I think all the content will be free. I think they're going to do something very much like, well, look at the successes of Rainbow and look at the success of For Honor and how they're building platforms. Ubisoft, they're not building to make franchises now so much. I mean, those games will probably have sequels, but they're still a way off. You know, they're looking at like 3 to 5 year tails on these games, which I think is brilliant. Like really good for the industry, really good for the consumer that you're getting this level of investment and commitment. And it's super, super cool. I mean, Ubisoft. So let's talk about a little bit about Ubisoft's conference off the back of the Division 2 stuff. A renewed commitment and energy. You know, after the last conference where it felt like it was Eve's last, that it felt like a goodbye from the Ubisoft we knew. Super happy to see that's not what happened. And then I loved the ending of the conference where he brings out all of the developers that have been there that day for the conference. And even though Ubisoft is probably the largest developer / publisher in the world for the amount of people it employs directly, right? Yeah. It still feels like a family-run organization. Yeah. It's got an incredible sense of community and that they care for their hundreds of thousands of employees, you know, in nearly 30 studios or something ridiculous across the globe. And yet it feels tight-knit. Like, I don't know how they do that, but there's a great sense that it's led from the top and that, you know, there's a community spirit to it and a commitment to making these awesome experiences that are going to last. And that's what I love. The Ubisoft spirit, that sort of socialist, very French spirit. You know, that's why I'm so glad it's still Eve at the top. That if it had got bought by Vivendi, it would probably become something like a new EA or Activision. You can see why a company would want to acquire and take over Ubisoft, because I think it has an incredible portfolio. All these established studios, there's a lot of things you could do to really leverage that and do bad things with it in a way and turn it into an Activision, which I think has become the most disgusting kind of money grabbing awfulness ever right now with what they're doing with the new Call of Duty and how they're. You know, did you hear about this fucking pre-order Call of Duty Black Ops 4? Right, and you can get some new maps for Black Ops 3 by pre-ordering it, but that's only on PlayStation. And that's the only way of getting the maps. And it's just like, and then there's another thing. If you want, I think the season pass for Black Ops 4, the only way of getting it is if you buy at pre-order the super fancy, expensive edition of the game. It's not going to be sold separately after release. Great. And it's just like,
that game's going to do well.
What you're saying is you have to commit and pay all this money before you even get to see the game.
What's in the season pass?
Look, I'm not massively interested in COD Blops. I'm not going to lie. So I've not been looking into it that closely. But I have, however, seen a lot of the reaction online.
Can you imagine if it's maps?
It's not been positive.
It won't be. Can you imagine if it's maps? So they're irreparably
destroying their player base. Yeah,
player base on day one.
I don't understand what and the people are saying things like this online. It's like it feels like they're just seeing how far they can push it at this point. Like, what can we get away with? And it's gross. It's just like, guys. And then what they've done with Bungie and how that content is releasing, and you know that whole new season pass thing they brought out for the second year of Destiny 2 content. It's just a bit. It's like, and then you look at what Ubisoft is doing. Look at what EA is now pivoted hard into. In the whole thing about EA Play's show was, loot boxes are bad. We fucked up. So we won't do that again. We're really, really sorry. You know, I've never seen a stiff kind of corporate suit as much as the guy at charge of EA. He very nearly apologized without saying sorry. You know, it was kind of like, I'm going to take it as close to that as I can. And that's the most you'll ever get from someone like that. But like, I was amazed how hard they are pivoting away from the microtransaction loot boxes.
Yeah, I'm amazed that Activision aren't following suit.
They're doggedly doubling down. It would be like, you know, they're just gonna bleed the player as dry as possible.
We'll see how that goes. The lack of a single player campaign in Black Ops 4 as well. That's going to bomb. By Call of Duty standards, that is going to bomb.
You say that, but I honestly don't think they know their numbers better than we do, Rich. And I'm pretty sure most people don't give a shit about the campaign in Call of Duty games. It's just us old people that can't be competitive now. you know, and we're not the player base they're going for with these games at all. not
I
at
guess,
all.
yeah, I guess so. But, it's not just the campaign; it's the other stuff, isn't it? The marketing around it. And you said there's been bad feedback around it.
Oh,
so
I follow a lot of the gaming subs on Reddit and stuff. And look, people might dismiss Reddit like as, but recently in the last year, I've actually got into using it quite a lot. They have power. You've only got to see what happened with Battlefront 2.
Yeah.
That's basically because of Reddit, that U-turn, right? So there can be a lot of influence and power from those places. So you know developers and publishers are looking at it. The problem is the Reddit users know that as well. So they can like there was some backlash, quite heavy backlash around Cyberpunk because a lot of people wanted this game to be third person. So when they found out it was first person, there's a lot of negativity, even though they don't really know anything about the game. Because nobody on Reddit has seen that 45-minute demo behind the closed doors. So what the fuck? What are they judging their dislike on other than it's a slightly different perspective of camera? It's ridiculous. So don't get me wrong. It can be as much bullshit as it can be a force for consumer advocacy. But so it can definitely go both ways. The internet in general and Reddit in particular and all those places like GAF, you know, they're not all good, definitely. But it is interesting. Like Activision will be looking at this, and I hope they listen. But so far they haven't, man. Like you've only got to see how much they doubled down on the Destiny content release, like to keep going so hard as they are with that. And like I said on the last show, Richard, I'm still going to buy it. I know I'm going to buy it. So I'm part of the problem.
Yeah.
But I'm. You know, let's talk about some other things. I just mentioned Cyberpunk. Some of my highlights, obviously, Cyberpunk 2077 and Doom Eternal, top of my list for picks from E3 this year. I mean, Doom is less on there because it was just an announcement of an announcement, as it were. Like it was a teaser of more to come. But Cyberpunk 2077, without a doubt, the way they closed the Microsoft show with that trailer, it was a fantastic trailer, even though it wasn't like direct gameplay. That's probably my only criticism of the Microsoft show, actually. Not enough people playing games on the stage. A lot of trailers. We got Forza demo, but we didn't really get much else, did we?
I don't think that really was missing. I mean, my experience of people playing games on a Microsoft stage is not positive because it's always corporate suits, isn't it? But with the scripted conversation about
we got the best
with your mates and all of that.
Talking
nonsense.
About Division 2, we got the best scripted conversation. Oh my god, what was that? I love it when Ubisoft does that shit though. Nobody talks like that online, guys. No one. It's so funny. The best bit, the most realistic bit of dialogue was when player A turns to player B and B goes, "Shit, your level's really low," and they're like, "Yeah, I need to get on that." And it's like that was the most realistic bit of it. Like, however, the rest of it's just like, player C, cover me. I'm going in. Oh, I'm down, player A. Come and revive me. Sure, I'm on my way to revive you. No, if somebody gets down in that situation, you cover your own ass. And sorry, mate, you're gonna have to go back to the spawn. We ain't coming to get you. And it's just like that's what really happens. But mate, it was very enjoyable. It was very, very enjoyable. But so you don't think stage demos are that important at these shows anymore? Then?
No, I don't. I don't think they ever really work. If they go smoothly enough, then you might as well have just shown a trailer, as far as I'm concerned. And when it goes wrong, obviously, you know, what was the point? So there's loads of times, isn't there, when you can remember people playing stuff on stage and it just fucks up totally.
Most recent one for me, Uncharted 4's one, will always stick in my mind from recent years. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that. I was thinking
here we are in this beautiful Marrakesh, and then you just stood there. Like the controller had died or something, and it just stood there, and they just stood there. They just, oh god! You could just hear them scrambling. It was brilliant. It was brilliant.
One of the Assassin's Creeds had a really bad one. I remember.
Unity. Maybe.
I think it was Unity. Yeah,
that's not surprising. Considering the mess that launched in.
But I don't think they need to do that. I'm happy with the trailer. I would prefer it if it was footage of gameplay, but it doesn't need to be live on stage for me.
So best kind of sort of fuck ups we had this year was at Ubisoft with the mics still being on. Did you watch Ubisoft?
Yeah. Apologising for missing cues and stuff. Was it something like that?
No. The best one was Beyond Good and Evil 2. Yeah. They came off the stage and went, "We fucking nailed that." And it was just like, I love you. That's so human. You guys rock. That was brilliant. That was fantastic. That was and then that was also that showing of Beyond Good and Evil 2, by the way, was fantastic, like amazing. However, when Joseph Gordon-Levitt came out and went, so we're going to get you guys to do all the work for us, and it was just like, you forgot to point something out, didn't you guys? Because Twitter exploded. I was watching this happen live, and Twitter went mental because it was seemingly implied that this was all like, oh, but you're going to do this for free. That your payment will just be the kudos of being in the game. And it's like, actually, no, they do pay the creators that get their stuff used.
Yes.
So that got clarified later, but it's like, yeah, probably should have mentioned that on the stage there, Joseph. Just and he,
Do you think that was the intention before people kicked off?
No. It's something he's been doing for like the best part of 10 years. His company. And they've already paid out tens of millions to creators or something. He was saying, you know, what he said was, his excuse was on Twitter was that it was in the script, but it got cut last minute for time. And they I think he didn't have input on what was cut, and he's reading off an auto cue, you know, and it just didn't get mentioned, which was, I think, a bit of a faux pas there, because people had a really bad impression of that for a while there. Oh, so you're going to crowdsource development and then not pay any of the people that create the stuff for you? Fuck off. How about fuck off, fuck you, fuck off. So it was kind of like, that was my first impression when I saw that. I was like, for real? This is really what you're planning on doing? This does not sound right. Yeah. But no, thankfully it's not. But Beyond Good and Evil 2 looked amazing. Like, I don't know how. I mean, the fact that they've said, you know, there was, again, behind the scenes closed doors presentations and stuff, and it's like all the cities. So on the world you go to, there will be multiple cities. Nothing is procedurally generated. It's all handcrafted. And it's just like, well, how I mean, I know Ubisoft is big, but that's a lot of work if you're going to have a bunch of planets to fly to. But no, it sounds amazing, and it sounds like it's coming along a lot quicker than I thought it would be. The rumor is we might get it next year.
I'm not surprised it's actually happening.
Yes, I mean, yes, and it's one of those cases as well, a bit like the Prey reboot, where it's sort of like, well, why are you even calling this Beyond Good and Evil? I mean, other than the fact that you've got these genetically modified creatures, I mean, what's the actual connection to that game? It seems very tenuous. Do you know what I mean? So they're just borrowing the brand because it's easier than creating a new one, I suppose. But no, I'm pretty hyped for that. Let's talk about Control, because this was shown at PlayStation.
Yeah,
and
this is the Remedy game we talked about earlier.
Remedy moment. The first thing I thought when I saw this gameplay is this a Quantum Break sequel?
Yeah, it looks like it.
It looks so much like Quantum Break. As soon as I saw it, you can see Remedy, can't you? I mean, it's like something about how they animate their characters, something about how they sort of shoot their action. You know, there is a look to a Remedy game. And it immediately,
it's all about the timing, and when something happens, action tends to slow down. So this dates back to Max Payne when they invented the whole bullet time thing. They still include elements of that in their action, in every game that they do. It's not always obvious, but there's always a subtle sort of time shift that accentuates the weight and impact of what their characters are doing, which works really well. And this is another one of those.
Have you dug into this? There's been, again, behind the closed doors showings of this. Have you read anything?
No. What?
So you play the director of the Federal Bureau of Control.
Right.
Right? You do have a name, but I can't remember what it was. And basically, there's an alien invasion happening by a group of aliens called the Hiss. Just called... Cool name. I like that. Hiss. And you have powers, obviously, and the whole game is going to be set inside the walls of, I think it's called something like the Strangest House, which is the name of the headquarters of the Federal Bureau of Control. And the building shifts and changes around you, and like it has like reality. Have you ever seen the TV show The Librarians?
No.
Okay. Well, that doesn't help as a reference, but I got a vibe of that from it, like a bit like, so you're this supernatural, or Warehouse 13-y a bit as well, like a supernatural police force, you know, controlling weird shit, and you're obviously based in this weird headquarters which alters based on need and things like that. But you know, it's a fun like sci-fi framework that's been built. You know, creative lead is Sam Lake, as he always is. So this is his idea. And yeah, it seemed it's building on the mechanics, the graphics engine, and everything that was established with Quantum Break. So it's not a direct sequel, but boy, it could have been if that game had been slightly more popular.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? It really could have been. Like, if it had been multi-platform, like this is going to be, Quantum Break probably would have had a sequel. And they've said, what else did they say? There won't be any live-action cutscenes or TV show. So they're getting rid of that. And there's going to be more kind of in-engine dialogue and a lot less cutscenes in general, you know? So they're trying to make it a bit more direct action-y. And less sit back and watch kind of stuff. But that's such a shame, because that's kind of the shit I love. But I love that shit about Remedy. You know, all that sort of, it's so fucking avant-garde and weird and unique, and it's what makes a Remedy game a Remedy game. But it's the interview I said, I think she was the narrative designer.
Didn't do too much of that though, did it?
Oh, it did quite a lot.
Have all the...
They did a lot of cutscenes in Alan Wake. There's a lot of cutscenes. Not like 25 minutes. Not to the
degree that Quantum Break had them though.
No, but quite a bit though. Like most of the exposition came from cutscenes. I think they're going to try and move it in game a bit more. And basically, the narrative lead, she was saying, you know, they've listened to feedback. You know, so that's what they've done. So look, I mean, are you excited?
Yes, I am. I think
just because it Remedy,
yeah. I'm not majorly excited yet until I know more about it. I'm just really glad that something in that vein is happening, because when Quantum Break happened and didn't do that well, Remedy talks about sort of broadening their revenue streams, really, just working out what they could do to survive, and that included more minor developments under the banner of other sort of publishers. Just to bring the money in. And my worry was that would be pretty much all they were doing, smaller scale games just to keep them alive. But yeah, this looks as if they're powering on with what they're good at. So I'm excited that is continuing. I just want to see more of the game.
I mean, they've confirmed this is P7, Project 7. So sadly, it's not, you know, that means not Alan Wake 2 being made. Sad, like stuff like that. I don't think they've forgotten that franchise. I don't think it's dead and gone.
They won't.
I do think they'll come back to it at some point.
Alan Wake is in Quantum Break, almost. They clearly love him and want to bring him back. It's just, who's going to pay for it?
At the end of the day, isn't it? Always, But no, I was pretty excited about it. We talked about Halo Infinite. That's on your list as well, but we've already gone into that. I want to mention Anthem. I thought this was the kind of the best thing EA showed, without a doubt. I still think
I found it quite boring, to be honest.
Yeah, Joel had issues as well, and that the issue being, you know, what's its uniqueness? What's its USP? Is it not just Destiny? But I said I don't think it needs to be unique to Destiny. I just think it needs to be what Destiny 2 isn't, which is good. If it's great, if it's well made, great combat, which it looks like. I mean, the whole Iron Man suits, the javelins that you fly around, you know, the transitions from air to land, through the water, all of that looks so smooth. The world looks so beautiful. If with good combat, good world design, and if they bring in what Destiny doesn't have, which is good storytelling and good characters, then it doesn't really need to be unique. It just needs to be better than Destiny. And if it's better than Destiny, it'll do incredibly well. And you know, just a sci-fi. I thought the world they showed in this seemed really interesting. The idea that the gods had made this world and they left the machinery behind that they used to create it, you know, and I think there's an interesting setup there. You know, yes, there is so much Destiny about it. I mean, the enemies looked quite Destiny, you know, and even the concept sounded quite Destiny and stuff. I thought it was interesting when they had that weird, awkward interview on stage where Andrea Renee was doing her awkward corporate sort of thing. And they all sounded, I mean, Casey Hudson was there, and it was really good to see Casey Hudson. But really, mate, I just want you making Mass Effect, buddy. I mean, I know. I'm so glad you're back at BioWare, Casey Hudson, but at the same time, just make a new Mass Effect a good one. That's really all I want. But no, this was his baby. This was his creation, Anthem. He left the studio. He's come back. I feel like he's righted the ship. I feel like, but even then, with those 3 people there, they were struggling to tell me what this really was and what was gonna hook people in. You know,
this is it. I mean, I suppose my problem with it is the biggest message I'm left with is why they want to sell it to me rather than why I want to buy it. Clearly, they want to get into the success that Destiny has had and take that space. But, you know, that's why they want to do it. What's in it for me? And that it's not that interesting a concept, is it? It's just...
Oh, I don't know. Flying around those Iron Man suits looked really fucking cool, mate. I mean... The idea of and the thing that you're not going to be tied to one class, that you can change between them. That sounded cool as well.
That is cool, but there's not a hook there for me yet.
Yeah, what you want is
it looks like there's a lot of good bits, but I want something to hook me.
Where's the narrative hook? Yeah, that's what it's about, isn't it? Where's that story concept that you're going to go, oh shit, okay, like, and you're going to take a step back and go, that's fresh, that's exciting. I'm not sure there is one, or at least there isn't one yet. Like, you know, often is the case with games, story comes last almost, like when it's put into the game, the narratives and the dialogue, that's sort of the last element. They, you know, it looks like they've been working on gameplay, looks like they've been working on the world, looks like they've been working on the design, but I don't necessarily think the story's had the love it needed yet. And I think that maybe that's going to come in later.
I don't think it has to be story even, because I had that hook that I'm talking about. I had that in Division 2. And all it took was that opening shot of the jungle scene. And then it turns out not to be a jungle. It's just like a garden in Washington. You think, right, that's it.
What sold me on the Division was the very confident presentation that the developer came out and gave at Ubisoft. He came out and he was just like, you know, he was clear, he was concise, he made his pitch. And I bought it, you know? I'm like, dude,
the game speaks for itself, though. I mean, the world in that, my feeling was, right, that's a place I want to be, and that's what a game has to do. That's what Anthem has to do. And so far, apart from looking nice,
but you don't get that from that world. I thought it looked stunning.
It does look really good, but it doesn't look like a place I feel like I need to explore, other than just being visually impressive.
Okay. No, that's fair.
It just needs something for me to, I want to go to that place, you know.
I dig it, man. I feel you. The other one I wanted to give a shout out to, because I've read some more about this now, post announcement, and that's Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Yeah.
Talking about worlds you want to be in. Yes, I want to be in the Hellenic era Greece.
Yes, please.
This looks fantastic. And now I've read more about it. I read Eurogamer's piece on. They played like 3 hours of it. And had a deep interview with the developers. And basically, so this and Odyssey were made in conjunction with each other as a combined reboot of the franchise. So the way they describe it is Odyssey rebooted the combat mechanics and the open world. And Origins, sorry. And Odyssey is rebooting the storytelling and how the narrative is conveyed. And then building upon the combat mechanics that we've already seen from Origins and their world. So that's why in this one, we're going to be able to choose a protagonist, male or female. We're going to have the new dialogue options. They're pushing it. What they're saying is they're moving Assassin's Creed away from this stealth action game and moving it towards an action RPG setting. For example, the characters in Odyssey are not assassins, nor will they become assassins at any point. They do not have a hidden blade, nor will they get a hidden blade. Right. So this is kind of a big departure. This is a huge departure, and it's set obviously several hundred years before Origins as well. Yeah, there is going to be a connection to the progenitor race. Obviously, as you can probably tell, the spear he's carrying, the Leonidas's spear of 300 fame, of which you play the grandchild, is a first civilization relic, and there will be progenitor connections to the villains of the game as well, and they will connect to the villains of Origins and then obviously to the Templars. But the idea of assassins versus Templars is being left behind. They're moving forward with what they want to create are these historically accurate, fantastically engaging action RPGs. With and I at first I was a bit like, no, yeah, I really like my Assassin's Creed games, but I think this is the right direction to take this series if they're going to keep it fresh and interesting. And dude, there looks like a lot of cool. Ship combat's going to be back in a big way. You're going to have your own vessel again, like in Black Flag, which I'm really happy they're bringing that back. And they're going to do these. They're doing these crazy like 150 on 150 fights, where they're going to have these huge armies clashing, and you're going to be in there amongst them. There's a bit of it in the trailer and the gameplay they showed. And then, you might have a lieutenant or a couple of generals in that army, the opposite army that you need to take out, but you can fight all the other dudes as well and kill them. And you've got obviously these special attacks that you'll be leveling up, like the big Leonidas style kick you've seen in the gameplay. And there's others as well. I can't wait to go and play.
No, I'm looking forward to it.
Greek mythology, mate. It's going to be fantastic. You need to play Origins.
No, I've played a fair bit of it, but I need to go back. But yeah, it's a franchise I really couldn't have given the first shit about for a long time. But if they're veering away from what it was into what Origins has done, more in that direction, yeah, I'm excited about that. It's interesting that you say that they were rebooted at the same time, because there were concerns about them bringing out another Assassin's Creed only a year after the last.
So to touch on that, Origins was made by the Unity team.
Yeah.
And Odyssey is made by the Syndicate team.
Right.
So they basically were created almost at the same point, like within a few months of each other. And so they've been making this for about 3-4 years.
Right.
So that they have been they were basically both on the same development cycle of 3 years.
Yes.
But so if you think about it, so yeah, I think and brought together, and the way they're talking about it is this combined reboot between these two games to freshen up the franchise. Yeah, I'm down. And they said, so yeah, your modern day connection will still be the same. I think her name's Layla from Origins. She's still, but they actually hint in the interview that there's going to be even more modern day stuff, but not in a way to take you away too much from what's happening in Odyssey. It's a difficult balance. I have always loved the modern day stuff. I really like the idea of Abstergo and the Animus and all of that and the sci-fi trappings, and then connect that with the progenitor race stuff and all the idea of it. I really like all of it, but some people hate it with a passion. So
I'm not sure it works that well. I like the idea of it more than how they execute that, but yeah, I don't mind it being there.
So I think anything general you wanted to mention about E3 before we wrap up our post E3 discussion and move on to some of the games we've been playing?
I think that's pretty much it. I don't think there's anything else that really stood out. Xbox stuff was my favorite by far. Looking forward to Control. I think that's pretty much it. It wasn't that impressive from Sony this year, I didn't think.
Spider-Man looks great. I can't wait to play Spider-Man. I mean, Insomniac developed Spider-Man. You really bored?
Really bored. Really bored.
You just don't give a shit about Spidey, or didn't look?
No,
think it looked good.
I like Spider-Man. I like the Batman Arkham games, which this heavily ripped.
Yeah, just a bit. Yeah.
I just didn't feel like it was that exciting. It just seemed really dull to watch. I don't know. Maybe it went on too long.
I've heard though the trailer they showed is this quite like you said, Arkham set, like closed environment, boss fight stuff. Yeah. However, the meat of the gameplay is swinging around a beautiful open world, sunny New York, and that's also been shown to the press, and that supposedly is very, very good and very reminiscent of that freedom you got from Spider-Man 2. Web slinging and stuff. So, and it really, what I really like the look of is how they've incorporating his web powers and web abilities into the combat in ways that you'd only ever get from a Spider-Man game. So while, the counter and the dodging, one bit I thought was cool, and Joel brought this up, is that when the enemies attack with the shields, you're like, oh god, and we have to counter and jump over them and hit them from behind. No, you just webbed a shield, swung it around his head, knocked 3 of them out at once, and it was just like, fuck you. And he moved on. And it's like, yes, so this is a quintessential Spider-Man game in which Insomniac really seemed to get the power set of Spidey. So I do think it will be a lot more interesting than just a Batman Arkham style game.
I think it's just honestly, the wrong thing for the presentation.
I mean, they were trying to do like a narrative thing.
It's like the 3rd year that we've seen it now.
Is it really 3?
Yeah, I think this is the third year, and it's just not that interesting to watch at yet another E3.
So, nothing else.
Last of Us 2 looked good.
Yeah, did it? Did it?
Yeah.
You sure it looked good?
Yeah, I think so.
I thought it looked a bit... The game doesn't demo well. I'm sure it's going to be a good game. I thought it was really cool, the framing device they used.
Yeah.
With the dance and the kiss. I thought it was fantastic that it was just like, it's just two people in love. Like, let's just get over ourselves, you fucking nerds. Like, just move on. The problem I had was everything else. It just looked like gratuitous violence for the sake of it. Because it doesn't frame that incredibly brutal action well in the demos. When you understand the context of it more, which I'm sure you will when you play the game, it might seem a bit less gross, I guess. But I just thought, something I noticed there's a lot of in this E3 was female characters stabbing guys in necks. Like, because it came up in the Tomb Raider demo as well.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, more neck stabbing, sweet. They've obviously been watching a lot of Gerard Butler films. Like, that's his favorite move is stabbing people in necks and heads. So it's just like, bring it on. I don't know. I don't. It's I never thought The Last of Us needed a sequel. I think it ends so powerfully that having a sequel exist actually diminishes the impact of the ending and the narrative. But
yeah, it could do.
But I have faith in Naughty Dog. I have faith that they wouldn't do this if they didn't think it would work.
Well, they've said as much, haven't they? They've said that they. It's been quite a long time since the first game, and they did
5
say
years. We just had the 5-year anniversary.
Yeah, so they did say they wouldn't do another one until they found a story that actually justified doing it. So hopefully they have. But yeah, I thought it looked good. I didn't mind about the violent stuff because historically we know what The Last of Us is about thematically, and that violence is a big part of it. And really, it was showcasing the gameplay of the thing, wasn't it? So that's what the gameplay is
I know
a lot of the time.
Curious, we didn't really see any fungal zombies. We just saw human-on-human violence.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting. It could be just that, there's plenty of that in the first game, obviously, but maybe it was just a level we saw for whatever reason. It was just, the horrible scumbag humans that obviously deserve to die. When you see them stringing up that guy and cutting his guts open, that was pretty nasty. But Ellie is the single player, the only protagonist in the game, they've said, the only person you control. I do hope we get to see more Joel and see where he's at. There's obviously a reference to him in that demo. Yeah. But it'd be curious to see where the dynamic has shifted and stuff like that. Does Ellie know what Joel did? There's going to be a lot of curious questions, I think, to explore. And obviously, I'm excited to play it. But we'll see. Let's move on from E3 then. I think we've me and Richard there plumbed the depths of the best bits. Well, no, I don't want to do that. Let's not do bad bits. Let's just be positive and enjoy all the good stuff.
Yeah,
that we enjoyed. Yes, let's do that. Let's move on to some game reviews, and I want to kick off, mate, with you telling us. I played about 5 hours myself, but I know you've played a lot more. So tell me about the game you recently reviewed. Is it Vampire or Vampyr or what? Do we know?
I'm saying Vampire. I don't care if you tell me I'm wrong because I've got the microphone, so screw you guys. Vampire, it's really good. I've been playing it lots, even after I finished my review, so that's a good sign. If I'm not particularly into a game that I review once I've published, that is it. It won't see me again. But I've gone back to Vampire and played loads. Still not finished. There's lots in there. This is from Don't Nod, the guys who did Life is Strange. I went into this thinking it would be not so gameplay heavy because anyone that's played Life is Strange will know it's more about listening to people talk a lot and making choices in dialogue trees and just seeing how characters develop and stuff. Vampire is quite a lot more ambitious than that, so it does have a big third-person action adventure RPG around all the dialogue stuff, but that dialogue stuff is still in there and it's a major focus. So what you'll be doing is playing Dr. Reed, who's a recently deceased Londoner who comes back to life as a vampire and tries to re-establish himself within his community, trying to come to terms with what he now is. So does he start eating people and give in to his temptations, drinking their blood, or does he try and find a way around that and try and help the broken community that he's living in, that is subject to a major plague in 1918 in London? And yeah, from what you'd expect really from Don't Nod, the Life is Strange guys have done it again here. There's lots of interesting characters for you to talk to. Not so much choice. It feels like you're more learning about people rather than influencing too much. So there's lots of conversations where you'll talk to one person, they'll tell you something about somebody else that will prompt an unlockable dialogue with that other character, so you can learn more about them, and so the chain continues. So you'll gradually talk to everybody, learn more and more about them, and become sort of closer to the community that you're living within. What's interesting is that the more you get to know people, the more valuable they become as a resource. So the game is built around an XP system. The more XP that you've got, the more skills that you can acquire. So these are vampire powers that you'll get more blood when you bite somebody. You'll have more health when you're being attacked, and different sorts of moves. So like invisibility and sort of big vampire claw rake moves, stuff like this that you can unlock with more XP. So the more you speak to people, the more XP they represent. So if you decide to kill them, you'll get a big XP boost. So there's this kind of tension between building people up enough so that they're worth killing. So there's lots of XP for you to gain, but then not really wanting to because you've got to know them now. It is
or really wanting to because you've got to know them.
Because they're arseholes, yes.
Yeah.
So there are a few that they're in there to sort of break your will. If you're determined not to kill anybody, there's a few in there that you'll think.
So I
just this guy.
That first guy who got, you remember when he gets stabbed at the docks? When you first meet him, I spared him, and then I found out about him, and I was like, "Motherfuck! I should have killed that motherfucker."
You still can.
I'm gonna. On my to-do list. Because he's like a gang leading asshole that's just an ungrateful piece of shit. But anyway, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so there's I think 4 main regions in London, and they've each got their own small social circles. And talking to them, you'll see in the menus like a representation of what their social circles are, how they connect, and any submissions that come from that. So there might be a person that's got something that another person needs, and you'll see this in the menu. There'll be a sort of prompt to do a little submission to go and do this for them. So instead of killing people, you can get XP by doing these side missions and keeping people alive and finding out enough about them that you trigger more missions and sort of quests on the map to get the XP that you need to power up. And you will need to do that because the combat is quite challenging. It's clearly based on Bloodborne, both thematically with the whole London permanent night sort of vibe. The combat itself is quite Bloodborne as well. So it has this whole sort of ebb and flow to the combat where you've got a stamina bar that will break down quite quickly the more you attack. And to begin with, it doesn't actually feel that involved. It feels quite bad, the combat, to begin with. But once you've unlocked a few of the vampire powers, you realise that there is quite a nice sort of loop to how the combat works. And once you've mastered it, and once Frank shuts up, Frank, once you've mastered it, it is really fulfilling. It's a really rewarding system. So
okay, so this Bloodborne combat thing. I haven't played a lot of Bloodborne. I thought Bloodborne was meant to be quite difficult because I found the combat in Vampire pretty easy.
You haven't got far enough then. It does get really hard.
Does it get hard, does it? Oh, right, okay. Because at this moment, it's just like, I love the combat. I really like the whole idea of including the biting people during fights.
Yes.
So it's important to stun them, and then you go in for a neck bite to give yourself more blood meter, so you can use more of your blood powers. I'm using the blood spear quite a lot. I really like the blood spear, and
I've not unlocked the blood spear yet.
Oh, it's awesome. And, yeah, I went for that instead of like the claws or anything. You know, so you have the stun moves, and you have others. You can use different secondary weapons. You can use like you've got pistols and shotguns you can equip, or stakes. Weirdly, you can fight with a stake to stun people, which I think is curious that a vampire would use a stake. But I guess that makes sense in a sort of strange way. And yeah, I just
he is fighting vampires himself. So
true.
There's different classes of vampire, and
you're a very reluctant vampire.
Yeah,
at least to start with. I guess depending on how you play it, you could become a really loving it vampire if you wanted to murder everyone. So the curious thing though about that I'm having is, so obviously the kill people mechanic, right? When you want to suck people's blood for XP, this isn't just any Tom, Dick, and Harry. This is people that are on your like known citizens list, as it were. Like voiced NPCs. And they have like a level, so it'd be like level 1 up to, I don't know how high it goes, but I'm only a level 1 now, so
20,
I can only,
I think is the highest.
Wow, 20. So I'm not sure how you build that level. So what do you do to build up your level? Is it just something that goes up as you level up?
It will just happen. It's a story event,
right?
Where you'll have to make a particularly significant choice and convince somebody to go in a particular way, and then your mesmerize level will increase.
Right.
So the higher your level of mesmerization, if that's what you want to call it, the more people that you can control, and that means you can lead them off to a quiet corner and surreptitiously murder them for your XP gain.
I'm predominantly been bumming around in the first major location, which is the hospital. So theoretically, if I had a high enough mesmerize level, I could kill everyone there. You
could. I think
What would that do though? Because they're quest givers, aren't they? Some of them.
Yeah, there's a high level of control over that. I don't know whether in practice you can kill everybody, because I'm quite a way into this, and my mesmerize level is still only 3. There are a lot of characters that are 4, 5, 6, and as I say, one in particular I know is 20. I don't think that you can kill every single character. So it makes it look as if you can, but in practice, it limits who you can kill, because some of them are necessary for the plot.
Well, yeah, the highest mesmerize in the hospital seems to be, other than the dude right at the center of it, seems to be 3. So I could literally kill all but one person if I had a mesmerize of 3 in the hospital.
You could, but probably not until after their importance to the plot has been gone.
Oh, I see. That's how they balance it. So then you can go back and basically just farm them to increase your own level if you're feeling like a complete psycho. But the interesting thing about this game is, as a vampire, is that we all understand vampires as a form of pop culture, right? So the question comes, isn't so much should you, but it's more of a case of, well, I'm a vampire, shouldn't I just do what a vampire does? Like, you know, it's kind of interesting in the way that they've chosen the vampire as the center of this, because to me it's like, well, I'm a vampire, what's the point in fighting their nature? This is what I am now. So
there's an interesting backstory to how the vampire society in this game works, though. There are different classes of vampires. The most common ones you'll see out on the street, they're called Scarls, and they're like sort of the runts of the litter, really.
They're almost like zombies.
Mongrel. Yeah, almost like zombies. But they're infected with this vampire disease, and they're feral, really. And then you'll get Econs, which are the more higher class, intelligence and morally principled almost vampires that don't really want to kill people, but do have to drink blood or eat human flesh to survive. So there'll be characters that will just eat corpses or drink from people that are just about to die anyway, and even then they'll ask permission first. There's funny stuff like that happens through this, where there's a few more principled vampires that put a different spin on the the idea. So that's quite interesting.
Right. Okay.
And that gives credence to your decision making as well. So it's not the case that just because you're a vampire, you've got to be an arsehole about it. There is another way.
Okay. No, that's good. I haven't got to that yet, obviously, so I'm looking forward to that. I mean, the things I'm really enjoying is, so I really like the combat. I really like the world. And I really like just talking to people, because I think the dialogue is well written and the characters seem well thought out, and I like all their interactions between each other. Just in the hospital area alone, the different doctors and nurses and patients, and then the side quests that come off of those. I've been finding it all really good fun and compelling and different, and interesting and stuff like that. So it seems really, really good. It seems like a game, if you're looking for an action RPG, but with a bit more of a narrative bent to it, a bit more of a dialogue heavy skewer to it. And there is a lot of dialogue.
There is a lot of dialogue. If you're going into this thinking it's just a Bloodborne clone, it isn't. There's a lot of cues from Bloodborne there in the leveling system, the way that you upgrade equipment, and just how the combat fundamentally works is very Bloodborne. But there's a lot of dialogue to get through. It's probably at least 50% of the game is listening to people talk. So if that's not your bag,
I haven't come across anybody that's not been at least quite well written and well voiced, though.
Oh, they're pretty good.
Everybody seems like there's quite a consistently high level to the writing and the acting.
Yeah, the writing and the acting is quite good, apart from the opening half an hour, which was notably cringeworthy for me.
Oh, what with the internal monologue?
Yeah, and the Sarah pointed it out as well when she was watching me play it. There's a few moments there. It shows you a bit when Dr. Reed dies, and because he's a doctor and he's got all these ambitions, he screams out, "I had so much more to achieve."
Best worst last word ever. Right there. That's like, who would say that as your last moment? I was going to be famous and discover things. Like, shut up, mate. Fuck off. That kind of speaks to his character, though. I mean, his character. Yeah. I mean, I do like the descent into madness that happens in that opening, where when he it's not much of a spoiler because it happens in the first like half an hour, but when he tries to kill himself by shooting himself through the chest, through his heart, and then he wakes up and it's like, shit, I'm still here. I like that. I like that, the desperation of realization. When the fact that the first person you kill is your own sister, that's fucked up, man. That's so fucked up. And because all he sees is her circulatory system, and it's just like, it doesn't realize it's her. It just like chows down. Oh no. Twisted shit there. Good ways. I thought it was strong. Other than that whole last words thing, I thought there was quite a strong opening. I was like, quite strong. I want to know what happens here, because this is fucking mental. Like it pulled me in, and you definitely feel the confusion and the horror that he's feeling. I think it does a good job of putting you in his shoes.
Absolutely, Tonally, it's really good. It undersells the combat system in that first sequence, because all you can do is slash, and it doesn't feel like there's any sort of strategy to it, but that does come later on.
Okay, I'm gonna find time. I'm gonna try and carve out some more time to get a bit further into it, definitely, because I think it's a real bit of a gem from Don't Nod here and Focus Home. I'm gonna quickly touch on a few things. I know we're already at like nearly hour and 45 here, I think. So I'm gonna talk about. I haven't got a lot to say about Omega Strike. I'll have the full review out soon. It's perfectly fine. It's a cute little shooty platformer game, action platformer. And it's fine. It's nothing wrong with it at all. The design of the levels is quite good. It's based around this is what's quite frustrating. It's based around this mechanic where you can switch between 3 playable characters at any time, right? So you're the little marine guy, and you could be like a little heavy guy, and then you could be a little stealthy jumpy guy. And then it takes that mechanic away from you at the end of the first level, when 2 of the characters are like abducted by the evil scientist, and then you're just left with the little marine guy, the basic guy. And you have to then progress through these missions and these levels, looking at the level design going, well, that's clearly the bit where the jumpy guy would have done a double jump, and that's clearly the bit where the heavy guy would have moved that block. And I can't do it yet because I've got to go and rescue these guys before I can then come back to this level. And I find that type of game design very frustrating, and it's very old school. But the mechanics that are all there work really nicely. I just don't enjoy the mechanic of giving and showing the player everything you can do and then taking it away like within the first 20 minutes. I find that a bit, I don't know, bit of a piss take. But yeah, it's pleasant enough. It's nice enough. It's straight down the middle. Like, not good, not bad. It's not going to stand out. There's plenty of other games like this that do more things interestingly and a bit more differently and try new things. What was it? Time Force? Do you remember Time Force?
No. Super Time Force.
Super Time Force, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, that's like this, but more interesting and better because it uses the whole time travel mechanic in there and stuff, for example. So it does things a bit more innovative. What was it? This is a Mega Strike. There was another game, Unit 4 is another sort of action platformer that I've played on Xbox One, which does the whole switching between characters on the fly as well. But there's 4 of them in that, so there's a bit more variety and there's a little bit more creative. So this is fine, but that's what I want to say. I've also gone back to Battlestar Galactica Deadlock. You might have remembered me talking about this, I think, towards the end of last year, Richard.
Yes.
Right. And the reason I've gone back to this is the guys behind Deadlock, Slytherin, have sent me the DLC as a code to go back and revisit the game. And this adds like a bunch of new missions and new units integrated back into the story, which was kind of annoying because I had to start again to get the benefit of the DLC. Not the best way of integrating DLC. I'd rather have standalone missions to play almost, but this is on top of lots of title updates they've done. They've listened to a lot of feedback with to do with the game, such as there's an option now when you start the game so that the damage your ships take, are carried over into each subsequent mission unless you actively repair them, which is much more in keeping with, if you think about it, the TV show. The idea that the Galactica is getting beaten up, and then every episode it's like building on the increasing decrepitness of the Galactica. This is still though a very
the toilets don't work and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And his answer to everything is, I'm going to space you. But you can play it again, space him. Saying that, right, this game is fucking excellent. It conveys the sense of the combat from you've seen in the TV show so incredibly well. When you finish the mission and you watch the replay, because it's sort of this turn-based game where you plot out the courses of your ships, tell them what to do, and then hit play. And then they sort of all you and the enemy ships then move at the same time and interact with each other depending on cones of fire and the orders that have been given and launching missiles and stuff. And then it moves a little bit and then you react and give new orders. And then when you finish all that, you win, you can watch the replay and it all happens in real time. And it's cut together and shot as if it was the space combat from the TV series. So lots of crash zooms and Dutch angles and like cameras stuck to the side of Vipers and things like that, so it's all very action orientated and really awesome with the awesome kind of Bear McCreary style music playing over it. And it's like the combat in the TV show. It's awesome how they convey that when you and then you realize if you weren't pausing it to give orders for 5 minutes each time, it's all like a minute long. The combat. That's all it lasted. This crazy engagement, and it's really, really cool. I really like it. And do you know what it did? It made me go back and watch the TV show.
Really?
I watched the miniseries that started off the TV show again over the last couple of days, and it's still fucking brilliant. Like, it's such a good show. It's so well made, and the tone is so incredible, and the way it takes in the original, but twists it and makes it almost like the original was almost a prequel, but has all the elements that are still there but then modernizes it, and it's just so well done. It does, however, the miniseries especially feels very much like that turn of the millennium thing where it was like, we'll have a sex scene every 20 minutes to make you understand that this is adult. This is mature TV.
Yeah.
Look, they're making out. Look, they're fucking. That means it's for grown-ups. And it's just like, no, we get it. Like, you're on cable, you can do that. I understand. It's fine. And that just made me laugh. I was like, oh, that's so cute. That was so like the 2000s where it was just like, oh, let's just show sex because we can now. Oh. But it's still really, really good. Like, incredibly well done. Characters are so good. But yeah, I've been playing some other stuff for you, but I'm under embargo for games that are already out on PC, which I fucking love.
Let's talk about VR. You've just bought
let's
PSVR.
do that. I went crazy over this last week. I think it was the exposure to E3 and all the games, and I was so hype for gaming and stuff. I just went, all right, I'm going to buy a PS4 Pro and I'm going to buy a PSVR in the Days of Play sale that PlayStation is doing right now, because all their hardware was reduced, and I got some great deals. I got the VR headset for like 200 with 2 games, and I got PS4 Pro for like 350 with two or three games as well, and stuff like that. So that was pretty good. I got some good deals, and I went. I'll tell you what. One of the games I got with a Pro was Detroit. So
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm curious. We're not covering it on the show probably, but I will give it a go. As like it came with it, and it looks stunning. Don't get me wrong, it looks gorgeous. As does many of the games on my Pro now. Like, but anyway, VR is the interesting thing. I played a lot. I got about 10 VR games, Richard.
You've played a bunch of stuff that I've not played actually. I do have Superhot on VR, and
dude, it's my favorite. It's my favorite game so far of all the ones I played. I'm predisposed to like Superhot. I really loved the original, but this. So I played. This is probably the best use of VR I have experienced yet, because it does a few things that when you're new to VR, I think it's the best onboarding. For example, because it's so you haven't got to worry about movement, right? You just got to worry about looking. Because so you're just in one place, so that makes it quite easy to grasp. And you have the 2 move controllers, and then you just have 2 controls on each one. So you have shoot and you have grab, and that's all you have to worry about. So it's very simple.
Okay.
So you know the idea of Superhot is you control time. Time moves when you move, right?
Yes.
So every time you go to grab a gun or fire a bullet, time moves. You're often dealing with loads of enemies firing loads of shit at you all at once, and it's the puzzle mechanic. It is working out how to position yourself to get a shot off to kill the enemy, but then not take incoming fire. 1 hit, 1 kill. And it works incredibly well. I was super addicted to it. I got a really good workout from it. I'm like doing squats and I'm fucking leaning, and you feel it after a couple of hours, that's for sure. But like, no, I really rated it. What else? Doom VFR.
I haven't tried that either.
So I was playing that to start with the 2 move controllers, but then I went out and picked up Farpoint, and it supports the aim controller. And I thought with the aim controller, it was so much more enjoyable. Like, so the way you move around in Doom VFR without the aim controller is teleporting everywhere. With the aim controller, you can just use the stick. So you can just have a normal analog control, which I think makes a lot more sense for Doom. And then you can put on the other stick, you can put looking as well. So you can do the incremental looking. So what I'm doing, so what you're really doing with the aim controller then is just aiming to take shots. You can still teleport, so you can still do the telefrag move. That is still an option on the L2 button, I think, which is on the aim controller at the front. But I found aiming was way more accurate. I felt much more like the Doom Marine because I'm holding a gun, than do with the aim controllers. I really enjoyed that. Farpoint itself, really good.
Really?
I really enjoyed it.
I'm surprised to hear you say that.
Look, well, you gotta remember, this is like I'm loving all over VR, man, because it's new.
I suppose if it's your first VR,
if I was being super critical of the actual games,
the game itself is dog shit.
I don't think it's dog. I like the world so far. I got a great sense of place from it in VR, like looking around in the canyons and the vistas and stuff like that.
There's not that much to see, though. Really, I didn't think. And the enemy design is
the enemy design. Do you know what it felt like? Starship Troopers. Yeah, but I kind of wish they'd lent into that more a bit instead of trying to be this kind of serious. You're trying to rescue people and find people and stuff like that. Just make it a bug hunt, or like Colonial Marines style. Just like put me down. That actually, now I think of it, a Colonial Marines game would be cool in VR, fighting xenomorphs and stuff like that. Lots of enemies that jump at your face, which is definitely something in Farpoint. I was enjoying that. I put Batman here, but I haven't actually had a chance to play Batman VR yet. But I will give it a go.
It's one of my favorite VR experiences.
I got it on your recommendation because so many of these VR games are on sale. Again, because of this days of play. VR Worlds, I played the London Heist.
Yeah, excellent.
As a proof of concept, it's fine, but it's interesting because I can already see that was like a very first VR game, and there's already much nicer looking games in VR than that. Like, Doom VFR and Farpoint both look stunning compared to London Heist. Like,
it's got some clever stuff though. That when you're in the bar with that guy,
the interaction with the lighting his cigar and all that sort of stuff. I like the dialogue. It's Guy Ritchie inspired kind of gangsters. They've got the game that they showed at E3 actually. I think that developer, they're making Blood and Truth, which is another kind of gangster London set shooter in VR, which should be quite good. The trailer looks like, you know, stupid fun, hiding behind like casino roulette tables and dual wielding pistols over the top of it and all that. That looks pretty good. Raw Data, I really enjoyed Raw Data, which is a game that was originally out on Oculus. That's a mixture of sort of like room scale VR, which they've had to, obviously they can't do on PSVR, so there's a lot of teleporting around in that one. You fighting robots, basically holding off waves of robots with different types of guns and swords and stuff like that, which was quite good fun as well. Yeah, but in general, I think I'm a convert, Rich. Good.
I'm glad you're enjoying it. I wonder if there's any opportunity for multiplayer stuff.
Well, I was trying to convince we should all get fucking Star Trek Bridge Crew.
Yeah.
You don't want that. You don't want to do that. You're not a Star Trek man. It's like 15 quid.
I can't afford it at the minute. I can't get any more games. Yeah, that would be interesting, I think. My main problem with VR at the minute is because I've got a 4K TV, a HDR TV.
Yeah, Joel was telling me about this, yes.
I've got to unplug the pass-through box.
That's stupid.
You'll be okay. You'll have the newer version that's got HDR pass-through. But I wonder if I should maybe phone Sony and ask them to sell me a box on its own, because they might do that.
It's really stupid, isn't it? I mean, if you can't buy the box, that's kind of nuts as well. I mean, because for me now, it's all in situ. I don't need to worry about it. Like,
no, but just for me, it's getting behind my TV and redoing it all every time I want to use the thing. So I just haven't used it for a while.
No, I can absolutely understand that. I mean, I think, oh man, I've heard this so many times before in the last 2 years. VR, you need to play it to get it. Like,
yes,
a good hour on a good example. Superhot, I think, is a great onboarding experience because, like I said, you just have to worry about picking up guns and various objects that you then throw if you want. But it's because you control time when you move. Yeah. The action is at your pace. So it's like you don't have to be like moving really super quickly. I mean, sometimes you're going to want to because you want to feel like a fucking badass, because you really do in Superhot VR. But because you literally feel like Neo in the Matrix. It's amazing. But like, it's really cool because you don't have to worry about moving around. You just stand in one place, you crouch and stuff. You can duck. That's quite important, the ducking and stuff. But it all works incredibly well. So I highly recommend. And because the visuals are so abstract, you know, and polygonal, you know, fidelity isn't important. So it doesn't have that issue if it doesn't look quite right or photorealistic. You know, the screen door effect isn't as noticeable because everything is just
all flat
orange
white
backgrounds.
You need to get Res then.
Yes, on my list. I want to get Plebius as well, because I've heard that's amazing. What else? There's a whole avenue of games now I'm gonna be spending money on. Anything else you would recommend, Rich?
The Star Wars mission on.
I have to get fucking Battlefront again.
Yeah, but what is it? £5?
It's not on the PlayStation Store. I mean, I might be able to walk into a shop and buy it physically, I suppose, but that's like gross. I don't want to go in CEX. Ugh.
It's really good though. You would love it.
Yes, Joel was raving about it as well. So I might find a way of making that work. There's a Rogue One DLC for it as well, isn't there?
For VR.
Yeah. I found it on the store when I was browsing through it. So there's like a Rogue One extra mission. I think it's the Battle of Scarif. I think.
I've seen that. Ooh.
Yeah. So yeah, VR is super cool. Like,
good. Glad you like it. Even though I was ragging on it being low res a couple of weeks back, you still got one anyway.
I sort of see what you mean, because it's not so much low res, is it? It's the screen door effect. It's the fact that the you know, what you're looking at is you know, the screen up close, the quality of it. You can see the pixels on the PSVR.
Well, screen door is when you can see the lines between the pixels, and I don't think it really suffers from that. It is just there's not enough pixels. It does look a bit blocky at points.
Yeah, it can look a bit fuzzy. And I thought the other thing I've noticed is the field of view. It's quite tight. around here, like, but for the most part, if it's only if you like look with your eyes to the edges, you can see the curve of the headset. But you know, most of the time you're going to be looking straight ahead, and you're going to be moving your head for the most part when it comes to the VR games. But it's all kind of like, at this point it still feels early, I suppose. Yeah, I just wonder if there'll be any development to it. I'm really curious. I mean, if you can get a headset like I did for a couple hundred, I think that's a good price to jump in at, especially if it's the newer model. They've done a few changes to it. For example, the headphones and how they integrate into the headset now is meant to be a lot better than the version 1s. I don't think you can buy a version 1 now, to be honest. I don't think they're out there anymore. I certainly don't seem to be. Everything seems to come with PlayStation Worlds, and they're all version 2s. I think it's cool as hell as a piece of tech. So I'm interested to see where it goes. I want to talk about Jurassic World Evolutions a little bit. Okay. This is really good park simulator. Like, if you're into your Jurassic Park, if you're into your dinosaurs, if you have a love for dinos, which, come on, what person doesn't love dinosaurs? At least a little bit. There's a great love for them in this game, but there's also it's got a lot of VO from and actually interesting they could get Ian Malcolm, what's his name? God, what's his name? The actor. Goldblum, Jeff Goldblum.
I was thinking Brundle. That's the Fly.
They actually got Jeff Goldblum to do VO for this to like record a bunch of dialogue, which is really nice. And it's like he does it in that laconic kind of that's really good, you know, though you'll be dead soon kind of delivery. It's like got that really sort of sarcastic thing to him. But they couldn't get anybody else, I don't think. Like they've got Chris Pratt alike, and they've got was it Bryce Dallas Howard alike, but they don't actually have them doing the voice work, which is a bit of a shame. But they got Jeff Goldblum, so that's good. And you're basically just simulating the park. And guess what? Dinosaurs escape a lot. It turns out, because otherwise it wouldn't be Jurassic Park, would it? No. And at the moment, I've not even got that many in the early park I'm in at the moment. But they find a way through my electrified fences. Don't I just think really, really poor levels of maintenance. That's a problem. But then, you get the helicopter, and it's really cool because you can fly the helicopter yourself and shoot the dart gun yourself. Cool. It actually feels really cool. And the other thing is there are like the Jeeps, the Ranger Jeeps. Do you remember from the films and stuff? Yes. You can drive them around the park, and you can like tranquilize the dinos with that, and you can do all in first person and stuff. And it's like, oh, this is actually, the handling and the design here is really good. It's not just you can put yourself much more into the park.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it is. It's really nicely done. It's got a really good use of HDR. Like, weirdly, reflections off of the water are incredible in this game. I was like, wow, this looks much nicer than it needs to. And it's got good, well thought out user interface. Lots of options, lots of park stuff you can build. You have the 3 different mission givers. So you have like entertainment, like just exciting stuff for the visitors, science, and then you have military applications. So it's kind of like, we would like you to design a dinosaur with big killing teeth. Can you make him more lethal for our other customers? And you're like, brilliant. It even deals with the kind of the moral quandary of genetic modification and making dinosaurs as weapons, which I thought is surprising. That is in a game here like this. But then there's like loads of facts about the dinosaurs and like loads of information and really good models for them all. And you can zoom right in and look at the T-Rexes and stuff. And if you're interested in dinosaur facts and learning about them, it's all in there as well. And it's just super good fun. And I can lose hours to management games like this. Time just disappears as I get lost in them. So no, it's very, very cool. Maybe a tiny bit pricey at like 50 quid, but
50 quid? That does seem a bit much for something like that. Because on PC, you normally get that sort of thing for 25 quid, don't you? 30 quid.
Well, actually, I looked at how much it was on PC, and it's a $5 less.
Wow.
So it's a very expensive PC game as well. Because I was thought to myself, all right, maybe I should just get this on PC because it seems like a bit of a PC game. I was like, fuck it, I'll just get it on Xbox for the achievements then in that case. Like, whatever. But I'm really enjoying that as well. Richard, I am disturbed to see a game on your list.
I'm not sure it's worth talking about, really. I've played Fortnite this week.
What on earth made you do that?
I don't know. It's the first time I've ever played Fortnite,
Right.
despite having downloaded it twice. I think it was this story about how if you want to download the Switch version now, because that came out this week, you're not allowed to play it if you've played it on PS4 before.
Yeah.
And I thought, shit, that's pretty low.
That's
And
pretty scummy,
all these people kicking off that they can't play it on the Switch now. Luckily, I haven't ever played Fortnite at all. I have downloaded it on PS4, but I've never logged into it. So I'm going to delete that one. I've had a quick go on Xbox just to see what it's about, really, and it's pretty much what I thought it would be. It's okay. And I might try it on Switch as well, but yeah, I don't really have a great deal of insight on Fortnite. I'm late to the party and I've hardly played it.
But it seems to me that it would probably actually be a good home for that on the Switch.
Yeah,
that style of battle royale. I'd rather play PUBG on my Xbox.
I thought that it felt a little bit lightweight. I know you've got all the extra construction stuff, and that seems pretty cool. It's got kind of a Minecraft vibe to battle royale shooting, but yeah, I think I prefer PUBG. But yeah, it'd be good on a Switch, wouldn't it? Little cutesy, lightweight shooter.
Yeah, I think so. I think that makes sense, actually. Well, that's a weird note to finish this episode on.
Yeah.
Fortnite. God damn, you become one of those people, Richard.
Yeah. I was thinking you would maybe skim over that. I'm not sure why.
No, it's the only thing on your list for other games you played. So I was like, I'm gonna go to you on that. You mad person, you. No, I mean, it is such a phenomenon. It's impossible to ignore, really, isn't it?
I have ignored it until now. Yeah,
I tried it recently as well. Who did I play with? Did I play with Joel or somebody like that? I'd played duos with someone. I can't remember who it was. We played a few matches, and it was like I found it a lot easier than PUBG. Like maybe it was because there's so many people playing it that a lot of them will be really, really noobish, like to these types of games. I just remember being by myself, walking around a corner, finding these two guys just sort of stood there, and I just killed them both. I was just like, they didn't even shoot at me. I was like, what are you doing? They were walking, they were moving, so they weren't AFK, but it was just like, guys, what's going on? But yeah, I remember I can't remember who I was playing it with, but I remember us walking around and like we found these two groups that were attacking each other, and then all of a sudden they just started building towers. And it was just like growing in front of you, like these two opposing towers while still shooting at each other. And it was just like, this is insane. And then it was just like, then we made the mistake of engaging and like, we'll catch them while they're distracted. It didn't work. They knew what they were doing. We died very quickly. But yeah, it's mad. I like the realistic shooter aspects of PUBG more. That's my thing. I don't really like the building and the weapons that much in Fortnite. It's okay.
Yeah, for me, it kind of distracts from what I like about PUBG is that's, you're kind of stuck with what you got and where you dropped. So being able to change their environment feels a bit cheating to me. There is luck of the draw, isn't it? When you're in PUBG, you land somewhere, might be good, it might be bad, but whatever, that's your lot. Deal with it.
There's a purity to PUBG, yeah. But and it isn't just random though, is it? I mean, if you once you've played it a bunch, you kind of know the better places to drop depending on the air, depending on the direction the plane's coming in from, and you know the places you're going to find loot.
When the circle starts to close in and it's driving you in a particular direction, even if you know the map, you're going to be somewhere that might not be ideal for you potentially. And there's not a lot you can do about that. So, yeah, purity is the right word. I like that simplicity to it.
Yeah. So I think that brings us to the end of episode 48 of Bxb'S Bits and Bobs. Have you had a good one, Richard? Was that fun catching up on E3 after not being able to do it with us live?
Yeah, sorry I had to miss them all, but I wasn't even around. I was traveling and
shit happens.
But, yeah, enjoyed that. Thank you. Hope that anyone listening enjoyed it too.
Well, we had a few people watching live, Richard. So at least they enjoyed it. I mean, who knows? Maybe they just wanted masochists. They hate us, but they're just going to keep punishing themselves with more of Ben and Rich. What can you do?
I hope they're not punishing themselves with that hand movement that you just did.
If you're wearing if you're wearing like a horrible, like, I don't know, wool mesh glove. Oh, scratching it off. So to that effect, anyway. That's more in keeping with how we usually end these podcasts. So on that note, I'm going to say goodbye. Bye, Rich.
Goodbye.